Did you know that sea travel dates back over 7,000 years? Stick around to learn more about the long history of seafaring for the International Day of the Seafarer. Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly, and today we're going to have a look at things to do with the sea, ancient sea travel, trade, ships in archaeology, and prominent maritime cultures in honour of the International Day of the Seafarer on June 25th. Don't forget, the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos every Tuesday and Friday. The earliest evidence of sea travel is claimed by a number of modern-day nations, Australia, China, and countries of the Near East among them, who support their claims by defining sea travel in different ways. Australians point to the fact that for humans to settle Australia, they have to have had come by sea, while a country like Kuwait might cite travel by water for trade, and China points to their long history of whaling, as does Korea. Sea travel most likely developed independently in these regions, and many others in the same way as domestication of animals did, and just like that, was a response to a specific need. It is likely people will never agree on where maritime travel originated. The Sumerians are credited with creating the first sail in circa 3600 BCE, but boats existed long before then. The oldest boat found in the world thus far is the Pesce canoe, a dugout found in the Netherlands, but a reed boat of about the same age, 7,000 years old, has also been found in Kuwait. These are both examples of the earliest type of boat, made either from a hollowed out tree or woven reeds, and these would develop into more sophisticated boats and ships. The people of Mesopotamia and Egypt both began with reed boats. In Egypt, they were woven of papyrus reeds by 4000 BCE, which eventually were replaced by wood. As there was not a lot of wood in Egypt, it was eventually imported from Lebanon to build larger merchant ships and warships. Early maritime trade, whether in Egypt or elsewhere, hugged the coasts of countries because the ships weren't able to take on the open sea. During the reign of the Egyptian queen Hatshepsut, between 1479 and 1458, the expedition to the land of Punt used ships which could be dismantled, carried across land, reassembled for water travel, and taken apart again. Trade between nations often required maritime travel in unpredictable weather, and sometimes along coasts a captain was unfamiliar with, which resulted in shipwrecks and sinkings. The shipwrecks of Uluburun and Cape Gelidonya are two of the earliest shipwrecks which have been excavated by underwater archaeologists and have both been dated to the Late Bronze Age. The contents of these ships, which have been well preserved in the ocean, have given us a great deal of information on the types of goods that were traded by different cultures and the extent of the trade routes during the period of their sinking. The goods on the Uluburun shipwreck, which has been named a Near Eastern vessel, have come from a number of regions, including Egypt, Cyprus, the Greek mainland, Eastern Mesopotamia, and the Levant. The shipwrecks such as these, which contain artifacts from numerous cultures, indicate that during the Late Bronze Age, commercial sea trade was thriving throughout the Aegean. The Indus Valley Civilization traded with Mesopotamia and Egypt as early as around 5500 BCE. The Mediterranean Sea became a trade hub in antiquity, which contributed to the rise of many great cultures along its coasts. The Phoenicians from modern-day Lebanon and Syria were famous sailors and became highly skilled in shipbuilding. It is believed that they may have been the first to circumnavigate Africa, and Phoenician sailors were also known to have travelled as far north as Britain. But it was their colony Carthage which became the greatest maritime empire of the Mediterranean Sea basin. The city of Carthage controlled trade in the region until their defeat by Rome in the First Punic War, 264 to 241 BCE, when Rome became the naval superpower. Until the First Punic War, Rome had no knowledge of shipbuilding, but learned quickly and were able to defeat Carthage by waging sea battles as though they were land engagements, immobilizing enemy ships and boarding them. A fascinating voyage which has left scholars wondering for centuries is the voyage of Pytheas in around 330 BCE, which was once written down but has now been lost to us. Pytheas was a Greek merchant, and that's pretty much all we know about him, other than the fact that Polybius, who didn't seem to believe a word Pytheas wrote, described him as a private citizen and a poor man. Once there was a text which has been translated as On the Ocean, which detailed Pytheas's extensive journey, which began in his Greek home city of Massilia, which is modern-day Marseille, and continued around Britain, the British Isles, the North Sea, and even the coastline of northeastern Europe, where he may have arrived at Norway, Iceland, or even as far as the Arctic Ocean. Although the original text no longer exists, his travels were quoted in a number of ancient sources, and modern scholars today do not doubt that he did indeed embark on a magnificent adventure, although his motivations for going on the trip, the places he visited, and any peculiarities of the trip have been lost to time. Looking a little later, the Vikings were a seafaring culture between around 790 and 1100 CE, and they would have used hundreds of ships on their campaigns. Vikings were Scandinavians who took to the sea for the purpose of raiding lands and acquiring wealth. So to say that sea travel was an important part of their culture is an understatement. Due to their extensive travel, the Vikings greatly influenced the cultures they came into contact with from Europe to Asia. They founded the city of Dublin, colonized Normandy and Russia, and spread the Scandinavian culture far throughout the North Atlantic because of their settlements in Iceland and Greenland. They were also the first Europeans to set foot in North America, in modern-day Nova Scotia, Canada, centuries before Columbus arrived in the West Indies to allegedly discover America. During the Viking Age, a common funerary ritual observed was that of the ship burial. The deceased, along with their grave goods, were laid out in a ship and then covered over by stone and earth, which would usually make a tumulus, which is an earthen mound made above a burial. The grave goods in ship burials usually exceed the quality and wealth of traditional burials, and ship burials in general were reserved for high-ranking individuals of their society. The Oseberg ship, which was found in Norway in 1904, is one famous example of this. The ship burial contained the bodies of 2 women and numerous grave goods. This Viking ship has been dated to around 800 CE, and it's around 70 feet or 21 meters long. One of the women has been dated in their 80s and the other in their 50s. But it hasn't been possible to test whether they were related, although they were found in a single bed, so perhaps they were lovers. They were buried in the ship and were accompanied by a number of grave goods, including an elaborately decorated wooden sleigh, wooden bedposts, a 4-wheeled wooden cart which had been ornately carved, and they were dressed in fine textiles which were adorned with silk strips. Testing done on their teeth has shown that their diet consisted heavily of meat, which was a rarity considering that the usual diet of Vikings was fish, and the younger woman used a metal toothpick. Both of these facts attest to the use of ship burials only for people of high honour. A new Viking ship has recently been discovered, with the excavation work only beginning in June of 2020. The longship has been found buried at Julstad, which is an ancient site in Oslo, and ground-penetrating radar testing has shown it to be 19 meters or 68 feet long. The ship dates to the pre-Christian Viking period, between around 750 and 850 CE, and was buried in an area which contains earlier burials that suggest that those who buried the elite person or people in this ship were making a clear connection to the past. The Sutton Hoo ship burial is dated to the early 7th century CE in the Anglo-Saxon period, found in England right before World War II. It was a rich monumental grave consisting of a ship burial, rich textiles, fine dining and drinking vessels, gold clothing adornments, the iconic Sutton Hoo sword, and the famous helmet. The ship is 27 metres long, and the effort it would have taken to move the ship to the burial site, creating the chamber, and digging a large enough trench for it would have been excessive. This alone, without taking into account the rich burial goods found with the person and the ship, and the rarity of ship burial during the Anglo-Saxon period, suggests that this person was most likely an Anglo-Saxon king. Why do you think these cultures put the time and effort into burying people of high honour in boats? Let us know what you think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos every Tuesday and Friday. This video was brought to you by World History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation, so if you'd like to support our work, you can head to our Patreon via the pop-up in the top corner of the screen or via the link down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon with another video.